May we convene the meeting of the Bridges and Tunnels Committee?
Chair, do you mind if we get closer to you?
My great pleasure. All right. I guess the first order of business is the minutes.
Public comments.
Public comment, all right. Are there any speakers? Mr. Bowden.
Morning. It is with great pleasure I come to issue my report this week. After listening to the program last, Jim's suggestions about identifying certain problems that the having trouble solving, I went to the Verrazano Bridge and I drove across the upper level, and subsequently I met with Bridge and Tunnel staff and we discussed it. And I went back again this last week and I looked at the lower level. And virtually every suggestion that I have made over the course of the last 5 years has already been implemented by Bridge and Tunnels on a lower level. So all of those comments that I've been making are already on the road, so to speak. There is no guide sign over the exit ramp for the Belt Parkway on the lower level, which means there doesn't have to be a guide sign on the upper level, because you've already established the principle that the ramp starts actually half a mile before the physical separation of the lanes. Those two lanes are separated by a double white line, which is illegal to cross and a violation, and either a police car or a traffic camera can issue a violation for it. And what it does is separate the traffic well before the exit so that aggressive drivers don't cause accidents by cutting in as they do in other places. Your team is to be complimented on being leaders in setting safety for the United States, because as it gets more and more implemented, the credit should go to this committee, to this division, to the Bridge and Tunnel team. So what you've established is a national precedent for doing it right, for increasing safety, for reducing road rage, for saving money. All good things. So you all, the team, should be complimented, because it's not just one person. It was a number of people there. They understood exactly what I was saying. It's wonderful. So thank you all.
Are there any other speakers? No? All right. Next order of business. The minutes.
No changes to the work plan. All right, the minutes, I'm sorry.
There are no changes to the work plan, am I correct? And has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? May I have a motion to it? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Done. What's next?
Okay, starting a report on operations. Pat Parisi.
The report on operations begins on page 18. Traffic was lower in October with 26 million crossings as compared with 26.2 million crossings in October 2015. This represents a 0.8% decrease. This was primarily driven by 0.7 million less vehicles at bridges and tunnels at the tunnels. This is mainly due to accelerated construction activity at the QMT and the UL Cary Tunnel. The year-to-year traffic increase from all other facilities was 0.5 million vehicles greater in October. These increases are partially attributable to the continued low gas prices, which averaged $2.27 per gallon this October, or 2 cents less than this time last year. Easy Pass volume decreased by 0.4% in October 2016 as compared to October 2015, while crossings using cash and other payment methods declined 2.9% for the month. Passenger car travel was down 0.3%, and other vehicle travel declined 6.9% from October 2015. Preliminary monthly traffic figures for November 2016 are 1.2% more than the same period in 2015. This ends the report on operations.
Thank you, sir. Where did the vehicles go that did not come?
Well, you had .7 million that decreased from the tunnels, but our other facilities picked up about 500,000 vehicles, which results in the .2 decrease.
But this was clearly a downward trend, not just for the month, but for the, if you look at slide 25, clearly it starts going down. So fewer vehicles came in. So where did they go? They go through non-revenue paths into the city? Or they literally didn't traverse through any crossings at all?
No, it could have been to the off our New York City free bridges, or as we've seen, we picked up 500,000 at the other bridges that they moved a little bit. So
Right, but the total number went down, so clearly
correct, by .2.
If
Right,
they all went through
200,000
another
went
path that
somewhere.
we owned, it would have been
Right.
the same. So they went somewhere.
Right.
Right.
Well,
You would think the free bridges, or they didn't
Right.
drive, or they took
Or they
transit.
didn't drive, right.
Yeah.
Or they took transit.
And sorry, second question then, on slide 26 or 7, doesn't matter, it's the same data. It wasn't just the tunnels, though, it was the RFK Manhattan side. Is that also a construction issue?
That's correct.
Okay.
Also be a factor that when they get off the bridges, and you are now in the process of expediting the process of their getting off the bridges, they wind up either on the East Side Highway, the FDR, or the city streets, which are congested, and that talks them out of doing it.
Right.
And by doing that, don't we wind up with less revenue that we can devote to helping the subways? My point being, it's circular. If you don't take care of the car when it comes off the bridge, but instead congest traffic when they come off the bridge, they're not going to use the bridge to the same degree. And if they don't use the bridge to the same degree, they're not going to contribute. We're not going to be able to contribute to the subways to the same degree.
Your point is we're part of a larger network, and they all affect each other, which is
Any
true.
other questions? All right.
The safety report. We'll move to the safety report. Pashko?
Yes, good morning. The report on safety for the month of October is illustrated on page 32, where we report 12-month rolling averages and highlight the following performance indicators: customer collisions with injuries, employee accident reports, employee lost time injuries, and lastly, contractor lost time injuries. The customer collision rate for this 12-month reporting period increased from 5.81 to 7.34, and the rate for injury collisions increased from 0.94 to 1.07. For the collision, I would like to reiterate our presentation that we did last month, and that we are continuing to identify collision-prone locations and making changes when possible, and also continue the increase in targeted enforcement wherever possible, especially to deal with distracted and unsafe driving on our roadways. For the employee accident reports, for this period, we report 256 incidents versus 248 for the last reporting period. And the rate for the employee lost time injury increased from 4.9 to 6.8. For the employee lost time injuries, I would like to emphasize that we've had a couple of rough months during the months of July, August, and September. There was a spike that accounted for about 65% of total increases for this 12-month period. In the last few months, we've intensified our toll plaza inspections, safety outreach, especially during roll calls, to emphasize our safety awareness and compliance with our safety plaza procedures. Perhaps as a result, we have seen in the last 2+ months, we've seen some significant decreases, upwards of 30%. Finally, to end the year on a positive note, the contractor lost time injury rate continues to drop for the year, from 2.77 to 2.04, which represents a decrease of 26.4%. Unless there are questions or comments, that concludes my safety report.
Mr. Zuckerman.
For those unfortunate enough to attend the Metro North and Long Island Railroad Committee meetings, you'll know I focus predominantly on safety issues. And we did talk last time and the last time before about this. I would note that having compared this month to the previous month, our percentage increase in customer and employee collisions and accidents have actually gotten worse, even more so. Customer collisions between October of 14 and September of 15 versus the following year period were 23%. Now it's up 26%. Employee lost times was 29% last period. Now it's 38.8%. I understand from what you presented last time, and I understand what you just said, you are being vigilant, but this cannot continue. We must find a way to manage this. If this trend continues, we're going to have to find other means beyond what you're doing to control for this, because double-digit increases in the 20s and 30s percentage levels are unacceptable. They're unacceptable to you, I know, to Don, to us, to Tom. We can't accept this. So we've got to find a way, and the trend must start coming down, because this is actually an even worsening trend from our last meeting than where we were before.
Yes, and as I mentioned, during the last 2+ months, we see a trend reversing, so hopefully we will see that in the coming year.
Yes,
But
as you know, hope is not a strategy.
I understand.
I had hope in the election cycle. That failed me miserably. I have stopped believing in hope as a strategy. So we need to have the strategies you're doing that are realistic, and I will be a broken record. I hope to stop being one, but if this continues this way, I'll ask my friend, the chair, to figure out means of elevating this conversation.
Before I do that, former President Clinton would tell you, never abandon hope. Let me make a suggestion, if I may. At some point, could we get, maybe a month, 2 or 3 down the road, a list of the various strategies that you are looking at to try and deal with these issues, so that if people have additional thoughts, they could be explored as well? Is that convenient?
Yeah, I mean, we gave you those on the customer injuries last month, which we'll continue to implement, but we can give you similar kind of things on the employee injuries.
Go back. The next item is Easy Pass performance.
Yes. Thank you. So the Easy Pass report begins on page 33. Our market share for the month was 86.4%, up 0.3% percentage points from the year before. Every facility was over 80% on weekdays, and 4 facilities, the Henry Hudson, both tunnels, and the Marine Parkway, were over 90%. More than 21,300 Easy Pass accounts were opened in October, and ahead of cashless ORT implementation at the tunnels in early January, we're encouraging our customers to switch to Easy Pass. We're handing out flyers in the lane. We're posting messages on our VMS signs, putting links on our website, doing other promotional and advertising activities, and we're also reminding our customers to mount their tags, as that will be very helpful as to the toll collection mechanism as they travel under the gantries. And just for your information, we're scheduled to go live with open road tolling at the Hugh L. Carey Tunnel on January 4th and at the QMT on January 10th. If there's no questions, that concludes the Easy Pass report.
Did we do the minutes
Yes.
and the work plan?
Yes.
Both are done. All right, so it's the budget.
Yes.
2017 budget and 2017-20 financial plan adoption.
Right. First the financial report and then the budget.
All right.
Mildred Chua will report.
Yes. The financial report for October begins on page 39. Toll revenue through October was $1.565 billion, which is 0.3% or $4.6 million better than planned. While traffic was down less than 1% against the mid-year forecast in October, due in part to the tunnel work that Pat noted, from a year-to-date perspective, we are still up 0.5% against the mid-year plan. Total expenses were $383.7 million through October, which is about $24.9 million or 6.1% lower than planned. This is made up of non-labor and labor expenses. Our non-labor costs were 6.2 less than planned, or $11.2 million due to timing of expenses. Labor costs were lower as well by about $13.8 million or 6% due to payroll vacancies. Our overtime is down 6.3% against plan, and that is about $1.4 million. Our support to mass transit is $970.3 million through October, which is about $54.8 million or 6% better than planned. This concludes the financial report for October. I can move on if there are no questions to the 2017 budget and
Any
financial
questions? Okay.
plan. Okay. The 2017 budget and financial plan begins on page 55. some highlights for you. For the 2016 November forecast, toll revenue is projected at approximately $1.869 billion. Total non-revenue expenses are projected at about $501.1 million, which is made up of $253.1 million in non-labor costs and $248.1 million for labor costs. Our support to mass transit is projected at approximately $1.067 billion in 2016, and this is pretty much the same level that we've been reporting all year, and we are on track with these year-end projections. Moving on to the 2017 budget, the toll revenue is projected at about $1.867 billion in 2017, which is slightly lower than 2016 by $2.3 million or 0.1%. But this does not include the proposed 2017 toll increase in March, and that is included in the MTA's consolidated plan. The total non-reimbursable expenses are projected at $552.8 million in 2017, and it is made up of $279.4 million in non-labor costs, which reflects a year-to-year increase of $26.3 million due to the expansion of open road tolling to all facilities by the end of 2017. For labor costs, we have $273.5 million in 2017, which is an increase of $25.4 million from last year due to additional salary and fringe benefits associated with filling our 2016 vacancies. Debt service for B&T is projected at $275.9 million in 2016, and that goes up to $303.4 million in 2017, which is a year-to-year increase of $27.5 million. Our support to mass transit is projected at $992.1 million in 2017. The staff summary also highlights some major programmatic initiatives that we're undertaking, such as the New York Crossings Project. The most notable initiative under this project is the Open Road Tolling Program, which we have been talking about and provided you with a briefing document in October. We are on track for the overall implementation, and we hope to have some facilities go live even sooner than originally anticipated. In a nutshell, we have begun implementing open road tolling at our facilities, beginning with the Henry Hudson that went live on November 20th, and our tunnels will go live in early January, as Don mentioned. Our plan is to be fully operational with ORT at all of our facilities during 2017. Another initiative that is included under the New York Crossings Project is our collaboration with New York State agencies to enhance B&T's safety and security efforts. We are going to be combining security teams with traffic enforcement at the crossings and defining new operating protocols across the involved agencies. A lot of these efforts are underway, and provisions to support the increased security presence is included in our 2017 budget. As Don noted, we continue to step up our efforts to increase E-ZPass usage, which will help mitigate the potential for revenue losses as we transition to open road tolling. And finally, although the staff summary does not reference it, we want to point out that the 2016 November forecast projects total expenses that are about $12.7 million lower than the mid-year forecast. In 2017, total expenses are approximately $11 million higher than the July financial plan, and this is driven by the higher non-labor costs due to the expansion of open road tolling. On the revenue side, as we did in the July plan, we are rebaselining our forecast based on the favorable traffic trends we've seen so far this year. We've increased our toll revenue projections by $4.5 million in both 2016 and 2017. Our support to mass transit is projected at $1.067 billion in 2016, compared to what we have in our mid-year forecast, which is $1.037 billion. This is an increase of more than $30 million, or 2.9%. In 2017, it is lower by $6.2 million in the November plan versus the July plan due to the net additional expenses needed for ORT, partially offset by favorable revenue re-estimates based on the overall favorable traffic trends that we've been reporting. This concludes our report on the November financial plan. Thank you.
Any questions?
It's an action item, so we need a vote.
On the budget and national road, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Capital program.
Joe Keane.
The report on the capital program can be found starting on page 68. In November, there were 17 commitments made in the amount of $150.7 million. Year-to-date, there have been 85 commitments made with a total value of $253.8 million. This compares to a plan that called for 87 commitments totaling $126.2 million, and an overall commitment plan for 2016 of $151.8 million. The most significant commitments made in November are related to implementation of open road tolling at authority-wide and specific commitments at our tunnel facilities. There were no project completions made in November. Year-to-date, there have been 9 project completions with a total value of $93.8 million. This compares to a year-to-date amount of 10 completions and $100.3 million. There were 11 task closeouts in November for $17.1 million, and year-to-date there have been 102 task closeouts totaling $197 million. Unless there are any questions, that concludes the report.
Any questions? I don't know. I think we need a motion.
No. No.
All right.
Just move.
Procurements.
Good morning. Procurement start on page 84. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There are 3 competitive procurements for award. One is a competitively solicited public work contract to Judd Law Contracting for design build services for a flood mitigation system at the Ucari Tunnel, the Governor's Island vent building associated with it, and the Queens Midtown Tunnel. This is in the not-to-exceed amount of $64,784,000 and a duration of 2.5 years. We want to note that negotiations have concluded and the final negotiated amount is $64 million even. The work under this includes the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of a flood mitigation system that would protect the portals and plazas of the 2 tunnels and the Governor's Island vent building. Stipends will also be authorized for the other 3 proposers. There are 2 procurement modifications to personal service contracts, one to the joint venture of WSP Cells and HNTB under their existing contract for a feasibility study and conceptual design at the RFK Bridge Manhattan Plaza and associated ramps. This modification adds design service for the new ORT gantries at the RFK Bridge, design for a relocated, expanded Operations Command and Control Center at the Bridge and Tunnel Training Building, construction support services, and design assistance for the demolition of the Manhattan Toll Plaza. That is in the negotiated amount of $2,471,525. The other is to Shore Environmental for additional construction management and inspection services for the relocated, expanded Command and Control Center at the training facility. And that is in the negotiated amount of $700,009.69. These 2 modifications total $3,170,000, and the total amount committed for all contracts is $67,950,000. Unless there are any questions, these procurements are described in detail in the enclosed staff summaries.
All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Done.
Thank you. And the final item is the diversity report. Sean Moore.
Good afternoon. The MTA Bridges and Tunnel Diversity Report is located on pages 93 through 96. It represents the end of 3rd quarter. Between January 1 through September 30, 2016, and in comparison to 3rd quarter 2015, MTA Bridges and Tunnel increased the number of new hires from 49 to 77, of which 25% were females and 56% were minorities. The new hires during the 3rd quarter resulted in a favorable impact on the service maintenance job category, which increased the number of Hispanics to 25% and blacks to 29%. In comparison to 2015, Bridges and Tunnel hired 12% of Hispanics and 19% blacks at the end of the 3rd quarter. EEO and Title VI complaints located on pages 95 through 96. As of September 30, 2016, included a total of 26 complaints. 6 were external, 20 were internal complaints. Bridges and Tunnel closed out 2 external complaints and 15 internal complaints. There are no reported Title VI complaints, and that concludes MTA Bridges and Tunnel EEO report.
Any questions? Any further business to come before the board on the motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Done.
Thank you.
Why?
What we basically do is take it, this is the key.